So a woman in my neighborhood was giving this away online. It's a Baratza Encore coffee grinder. I don't know anything about it, honestly. I buy pre-ground coffee. But it was free. She said it wasn't working, and in fact, when I turned the power on, nothing happens. And in fact, not only does nothing happen, but I don't even hear a buzzing. Sometimes on motorized items, when you turn them on, if they're jammed, you'll hear a buzzing. So nothing here. So let's get to taking this thing apart and see what it does. I'm also going to be wearing the GoPro hat or band or halo during some of these videos because, hey, I'm not afraid or ashamed of looking ridiculous. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually unplug it because we don't want to electrocute ourselves when we get this thing taken apart. I looked at the manual. I'm not really going to do manuals on a lot of these videos, but in this one I did. It says to turn the this is how it looks like. This is how you adjust the grind thing, the grind size. It says turn it past 40, and this will come apart, and it did. Magic. The woman wrote my name on it when she left it on the on her front porch. This little rubber gasket comes out. Looks like I can remove the burr if I'm so inclined to, but I'm not going to in this situation. Oh, I guess I am. I lied. You can also remove this burr, but I don't think it's necessary for what we're trying to do here. I do notice that when I turn the knob, the motor actually does turn, so that means it's not frozen, so I guess that's pretty much a good thing. I'm also going to pull the receptacle, catch tray, whatever you want to call out, just to get it out of the way. So now on the bottom here, I notice there are two screws. Hopefully you can see them, and hopefully either GoPro or the other will get them. I'm not positive this is even the way to take the thing apart. I'm just guessing, but I am going to remove these two screws. One, and dose. And that didn't do me any good, so what I'm trying to do is take the two halves apart, just in case you're wondering. So let's go on to the next trick. If I'm guessing, and this is strictly guessing, sometimes there's screws underneath labels, but I don't feel any. However, I'm guessing that these rubber feet come out, and there are screws underneath them. And of course, they are Torx screws, which is going to make our life a little more difficult, but we'll survive. Let me turn off and get a Torx driver, and we'll continue opening this sucker up. If you're not already familiar with Torx, they are a star shape, hopefully you can see, driver, and they come in different sizes. This is a T20, this is a T10. Turns out this needs a T10, so we're going to remove this bit, put the T10 in here. We're going to remove all these rubber plugs. And I'm actually going to stand it up on its top, so maybe we can see it from the top. And I'm going to remove the Torxes. So Torx, if you don't know already, is a way for a corporation to make more money. Just kidding, they're fine. The only problem is you got to sometimes, if you don't have them, you got to go buy new ones, new drivers. So now we got it apart, and we're just going to take this bottom off and slide the plug out. And if you notice, what we have access to now is absolutely nothing except for that, which now fell out. So let's see how much further we can get this thing apart. So this is just a weight they put on the bottom to make it more stable, I'm guessing. However, it's not giving us any access to any more of the mechanism, which is really what we're interested in. So let me see what I can do to get this thing apart. So it looks like this thing has little plastic tabs right here, and I don't know if this is going to do me any good, but we're going to find out. It's a pretty common way to hold things together is with little plastic tabs like that. Actually, what I should have showed you first is this knob, this power knob, pulls off, and that's another real common thing. The idea is to make these things as easy to assemble as possible. Of course, they don't want you to take them apart, but they do want to put them together in the factory pretty easily. So we're going to pry there, and then there's two more on this side. Pry there. Now you don't want to go too crazy and break anything, because that wouldn't be good. On the other hand, I said before, we're going to be breaking some stuff in my videos, so if we do, it's not a big deal because this was a free piece. Ah! Come on out of there. Ah, looks like, so it's coming apart at the seam here. So we just need to do a little more prying on these little tabs to try and get it past its point of no return, we'll say. There we go. Now the whole thing is coming apart. And there we have the mechanism. So what we have here is a motor. And it looks like it's a DC motor because, no it's not, it's an AC. No, it's a DC motor. We've got a DC motor, and this is likely a transmission that slows the motor down. Here's our power switch. Nothing's really jumping out at me as being broken, but let's keep looking and see what we can find. So, I want to apologize. Actually, I don't want to apologize, frankly. This board is bad, and I believe it's these two capacitors right here. I have checked them. I don't want to go too much into electronics theory on this. I don't want to show you how to test a diode, at least not at the beginning. We may get into that later. But basically what a diode does is it allows current to flow in one direction but not the other. And when you're trying to turn AC current that comes out of your wall into DC, which is what runs this motor, here I go getting into too much theory, you want to be able to do that. You want to be able to force the electricity to only go in one direction. Anyway, I used my meter, I tested these two diodes, and they appear to be shorted out. So I don't know that that's the only problem with this machine. They don't usually, well, they do go bad, but usually they go bad catastrophically. These would be burnt up. In this case, that is not the case. I'm not going to fix this on the channel. I am going to fix it outside of the channel, though, because I think this would be a fun addition to my kitchen. My wife might not agree. So I soldered in some new diodes off screen. At some point we may go over some electronics and soldering technique, and there are certainly plenty of guys on YouTube already that have videos on this. This was sort of an unplanned thing, but that's kind of what this video is about. So anyway, like I said, in the future we may go over some electronics. I have not tested this yet, so we're going to plug it in together. We're going to plug the board back in and test it and see if it works. It may blow up in my face. It may not work at all. I really don't know. So let me go ahead and plug. This board was originally plugged in. Some boards are, some boards are not. You just never know with this sort of thing. And for the sake of this test, oops, I got a wire tucked in there. For the sake of the test, I'm actually going to leave the board hanging. I am going to be very careful that it's not touching anything, though. That's certainly important. So everything's plugged in. Let me grab my power cord down here. Sorry you can't see this. And let's plug it in and see what it does. Could fail catastrophically. No, it seems to run. That's a good thing, though. So when I plugged it in, the grinder starts right up. So now I'm going to button it back up, put it all back together, and I'll have myself a coffee grinder, I guess. I reinstalled the board. It was just held in with a couple of Torx screws. I don't know if you can see that or not. Didn't think you needed to see that necessarily. We'll go ahead and slip the top back on. And like before, it just kind of snaps in place, or so we hope. Needs a little persuading, but it's back together. Put the weight back in. This was the weight we took out earlier. It goes there, there, and it slips back on like this. I think. Yeah, there we go. So that's back on. We will. So I'd taken out these screws earlier, and they actually hold the weight onto the bottom, and I didn't realize that because I've never taken one of these apart before, and I just threw screws across the room, and we'll get those in a second. Anyway, we'll put this back on. We'll refasten everything. We'll put the rubber feet back in. We'll put everything back together, and I'll come back in a second. I decided not to film reassembly, but there's one thing I kind of wanted to show you about reassembly, and it's something I didn't realize until I started putting it back together. The screws and everything are on the bottom. That was easy enough, but I wasn't exactly clear on how this all goes back together. But it looks like there's a red marker here that aligns with the red marker here, I think, and I guess I could go look at the video. There's some notches here that align with the notches here, and this is really not the easiest thing to put back together, honestly, although I guess if I read the instructions, which I never do, it would be easier. And then it all slips back together like this, and then you turn it, and now we're all back together. So I'm going to go grab some coffee and see if we can grind. I went to the grocery and grabbed some whole bean coffee, and I don't have much in there, but when you turn it on, it definitely works. It's definitely working now. A couple of takeaways from this video for me, and hopefully for you too, is don't be afraid to fail. I mean, this was given to me free, so if it's free or you're pulling it out of the garbage or you're going to throw it in the garbage anyway, if you can't fix it, you throw it back in the garbage. The second thing, and really it should be the first thing, is always practice safety. I unplugged everything before I worked on it. If it has any blades or anything like that on it, of course, anything sharp, you're going to want to remove those things first. That would be, different items. This doesn't really have much in the way of sharp blades. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed it, or at least were able to tolerate it, and have a good day, and I will hopefully see you soon. Thanks.